Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday morning. You know what that means. It's time for another episode of Come On Riff. I got my friends with me. Let's go around the horn. I just looked at my screen for the first time and it freaked me out. I got Jason Voorhees. I got Spider-Man. I got Rory McIlroy. I got bare knuckle boxer Jose Ramirez, and me, your host, Macho Man Randy Savage. Okay, that's enough for that. Listen.
That was great, Chad. That was great. Hands off.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. I can't do that the whole show. We'll have a 5-minute show because I can't talk like that all day.
I was going to say,
listen,
bro,
man, we got a great show for you. Obviously, you see we're in Halloween costumes. It might get a little wild. I don't know what's going to happen today. But listen, we got college football action. We got NFL for you. We're going to talk about the World Series. The matchups are finally set. I don't know if that went the way most of us expected it to back at the beginning of the playoffs. Man, the playoffs have been wild, but we'll get into that in a little bit in the show. First, just want to hit some headlines for you. I mean, listen, guys, the NBA season is underway, right? Like we had the first 2 games last night. I don't know. Lakers, Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, anything unexpected there? Did you guys catch any of that action? Or are we watching baseball?
Let me start this, Chad, with the NBA. I watched the Lakers, and it got so bad, I turned away from it. I felt like, you know what? AD said, oh, we're ready. We've had conversations. Me and LeBron were on the phone for 3 hours. Talking about what? Talking about what? Did you see the game last night? AD, that dude had 0 points in 18 minutes. They ain't ready yet. They ain't ready.
Not ready. Well,
LeBron shows up. For 29 minutes, he did his thing, but
yeah.
The
Nuggets still kind of look like they're a machine, man.
Yeah, I was really surprised how the Suns did. I'm surprised they beat the Warriors. Warriors looked a little bit flat, but great start for the Suns getting their first win of the season.
No Bradley Beal as well, getting that win. That was impressive.
Yeah. And, Rory, as far as Rory and Jason go, I want to get you guys I want to activate you two a little bit. I don't know what that's going to be like with you two going at each other, Jason Voorhees and Rory McIlroy. But I want to get into hockey a little bit too, because I guess it's a tale of 2 Connors right now in the NHL, right? It's best of times, worst of times, man. You got Connor McDavid's injured. He's out for a couple weeks, right? All I saw was an upper body injury. I don't know if exact specifics. I didn't know. But and then Connor Bedard scored his first home goal. That's not enough for Max, though. Max says he looks like a bust. Max, why does Connor Bedard look like a bust already, man? What do you think?
Because in his last season in juniors, it's juniors and everything. No one's there. No one's perfect. Like, they're just prospects. This guy was making those guys look like they're peewee players. And I get that the NHL players are the best players in the world. But, like, you think he'd have some sort more output on what he's done in 7 games. He's played 7 games. He's scored twice, 2 assists, and he has 4 points. He is currently right now tied with Adam Fantilli, in my opinion, for the Calder, because they both have the same amount of points, assists, and goals. But Fantilli's only played 6 games. He's only played 6. But I think that, it's his rookie year. Yeah, he's 18. He's young. But I don't think he's gonna do too well.
All right.
Guys we forget about in a couple of years.
Jackson, any thoughts here?
I only kind of agree with Rory, and that's because, first of all, it's only been 6 games. Whatever happened to letting the guy build a catalog, build a portfolio, create a resume, give us something to actually critique, give us something to cry about, give us something to say, oh, that's amazing. Give us something to compare to somebody else. There's nothing there yet. I mean, I looked at the Blackhawks, and Corey Perry is leading in points with 5. You know who's second? This guy, Connor Bedard. He has 2 goals. He has 2 assists. He has 4 points. He's second on the team. What more can you ask for other than 2 more points? Now he's the team leader. It's not just going to rest on him. He's the big ticket. But the Blackhawks as a whole, they're not done. I mean, they're still building and growing. I wouldn't expect this to be like some type of instant turnaround. But can we just fall back on the conclusive commentary on it? There's no reason to call him a bust yet, and there's no reason to call him a Hall of Famer yet.
Yeah, let it play out. Speaking of let it play out, Jackson, I apologize. I picked the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup, and now I see the come on ref curse is real because they're struggling a little bit to start the season. But it's early. It's early. They've got plenty of time to look bad because I picked them. I do want to move on to something kind of semi-serious here, real quick. I just want to tone it down for a minute. Listen, guys, Ohio State played Dayton the other night it's the first time they've played in Dayton in over 35 years. And this one was for a fantastic cause. Ohio State won the game 78-70. It's kind of inconsequential. It was just kind of a charity exhibition match. It's sad that the foundation has to exist, but this one was played to benefit Jay's Light Foundation. It's named in honor of Dayton coach Anthony Grant's daughter, Jada, who passed away in 2022 due to suicide. The foundation was just created to bring light to just an awareness, I guess, and promote adolescent and young adult mental health and suicide prevention. So if you guys want to check it out, you can find out more at jayslight.org if you're interested in making a donation or just to see how you can help in any way. But I did want to mention that, read some stories. Apparently the crowd was fantastic. A lot of people held up signs that thank you, Buckeyes. Just a really, really friendly, just a cool environment. So that's a really cool thing. And hopefully that'll help. I saw that Obi Toppin also surprised Coach Grant with a $20,000 check for the foundation. So really cool moment. Cool when people can come together and do something for the greater good. So again, that's jayslight.org if you guys want to check that out. All right. Let's just I guess we'll keep it moving here. Listen, in the NFL, I don't know. Is there more parity in the NFL maybe than any other league? Do you guys think that?
I'd argue either NFL or MLB are very close in terms of parity because, I mean, as we'll get to later, the World Series matchup, we have a matchup no one would have expected between two teams who haven't been there in a really long time. Yeah. But NFL, I'd say so. There's like one or two top teams usually, and other than that, though, it's usually free game. Like the Chiefs, they're always going to be there. Like when the Patriots were playing, they were always going to be there. But still, every single team has a shot in the NFL. So I think NFL, I definitely appreciate the amount of parity in the NFL. It's a good
and I bring that up to say this. I mean, the Ravens played the Lions this past weekend and just literally ran over them. I mean, I beat the Lions 38-6. They made the Lions look like, they weren't a first place team. Like they were not ready to play in this football game. I mean, Lamar Jackson threw for 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran for another. Last week on the show, I said the Lions were clearly the best team in the NFC. If that's the case, the NFC is not going to win the Super Bowl this year. You guys, I just take it. I mean, tell me about this game, man.
It was just a beatdown the whole game. The entire game was just a beatdown. It was the Ravens. In my opinion, this game, the Ravens asserted themselves as the biggest contenders in the AFC aside from the Chiefs, in my opinion. Because the Ravens, like we said, the Lions were arguably the top team in the NFC coming into this game, and the Ravens just dismantled them. It was never close. They ran all over them. Lamar did whatever he wanted to against the Lions defense, and Jared Goff didn't play very well either because I think the Ravens defense has started to become underrated this season. Not many people are talking about them. They're top 5 in almost every single statistic. So the Ravens have a top 5 defense, a quarterback who's playing Lamar's playing arguably better than any quarterback in the league right now. Who's playing better than him right now? I can't think of anyone.
Maybe Tua's close. I don't know.
Tua, yeah. So it's like you have an MVP quarterback and an amazing defense. That's a recipe for a potential Super Bowl run. So I think this game told me more about the Ravens than it did the Lions, although I do think that we now know that the Lions aren't quite there yet. They're a good team. They're probably going to go to the playoffs this year, but I don't think they're ready to make some noise with the top dogs yet.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, I want to ask you this. You brought it up. I think you're going to agree with me, but I mean, I think Lamar's a legit candidate for MVP right now. Like I was looking at the top 5 or 6 guys, and I was like, of all the guys down toward the middle of the bottom of that list, he's the only one I'd really be comfortable putting money on if I were a betting man. He's just so dynamic.
If he stays healthy, he'll be. I think he'll finish top 3 for sure. If he stays healthy this year, he'll be top 3 in MVP voting. I mean, Mahomes is having a good season, but it's not his typical numbers. Josh Allen's turning the ball over a lot. Yeah. I mean, the other guys are Kirk Cousins is putting up big numbers, but his team has a losing record. Tua's putting up pretty big numbers, but I feel like most people around the NFL know that it's partially because of the system. Not always. Tua's still a really good quarterback, but the system is definitely helping him put up numbers and elevating him to that level. I think Lamar is the system for the Ravens. He is the entire offense.
Yeah.
Like that whole offense is Lamar Jackson. It's not like that with Tua. So I think right now Lamar and Tua would be my top 2 guys for MVP, but I'd go Lamar.
Yeah, and I think that does. I want to get to Mr. Voorhees. I'm going to try to show some respect here, so I don't get in trouble. But I do want to I think that what you said, it shows how dynamic Lamar Jackson really is. When we've seen them try to replace him. A lot of NFL quarterbacks, you can go to the backup, and we've seen the Bears have some success with a relatively unknown player, right? The Browns have won a couple games with PJ Walker. It doesn't work when the Ravens go to anyone else but Lamar Jackson. I think that just tells you how head and shoulders above everyone else he is. He's really underrated. Jackson, what were your thoughts on it? I mean, first of all, you think Lamar's a legit MVP candidate, right?
Yeah, I feel like Lamar actually had a game that was flawless. I don't want to say a perfect game, but I like the word flawless. I say flawless because he turned the ball over, he got his yards, he used his legs, he used his arm. I have to agree with a lot of things Nick said is pertaining to Baltimore Ravens. They do appear to be the team separating themselves from the pack in the NFC North. Interestingly, I did pick Detroit Lions to win their division. And one of the things I thought Detroit had going for them this year was their defense. And it kind of bothers me that they gave up over 500 yards to Baltimore. I mean, that's a lot of yards to give up if your defense is supposed to be the top 3 in the NFC. So Detroit put me in a box. I feel like on one side of the coin, their lightweight's still a pretender. Nick even said last week, until Detroit actually wins a playoff game or beats somebody or does anything, win the division, we got to keep them as in their place. They haven't earned that spot yet. On the other side of the coin, I think they needed this to bring them back to reality. I think it was the perfect time to do it. 7's a great time to do it. Great time for a gut check. The Detroit Lions, they're not a bad team, but we've noticed everybody this year has had a case of being bipolar once or twice. I think this was just the Lions week for that to happen, and I wouldn't read too much into it because, like I said, that's still a good ball club. In Baltimore, they're a great team. It's not like Detroit did this against someone mediocre. They didn't do this at home. They didn't do this in a game they were picked to win. So I don't think I think it is too soon to just discount Detroit. But at the same time, we need to keep them in their place until they prove us otherwise.
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think everybody's shown some warts this year, right? I mean, every team has already kind of shown a pretty glaring weakness. The Browns have shown a couple of different weaknesses, but here they sit at 4-2. There have been some teams that have shown some just obvious holes, but they're winning their division or they're in first, whatever. It's kind of a weird season so far after a few games here. It's early on. I mean, we're not quite halfway there yet, but I think, there's no halfway. There's a mythical halfway point now, but I don't know. It just feels a little weird. I feel like no one's really trying to run away with this thing yet, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree because I thought like the 49ers and Eagles seem like the 2 most complete teams heading into the season. They both started off undefeated, but the Eagles, even though they're 6-1, but they haven't looked 6-1. It feels like they have offensive struggles every single game. Jalen Hurts has not played like he played last year, and
he's turning over the ball.
Yeah, he already has more interceptions this season than he had all last season. But the thing with the Eagles now, they bring in Kevin Byard. Hopefully that can help get their secondary back to what it was last year, which was the best in the NFL last season. So I think the Eagles are still the most complete team and best roster, although they haven't looked like it. The Niners, I mean, what's wrong with them? I mean, they've lost 2 in a row now. The Chiefs' offense hasn't looked as good as it has been in previous years. Their receiving core is arguably the weakest core in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what team is. There's no real team that looks like a complete team right now. There isn't a team in the whole NFL. I think the Ravens look the most complete.
Yeah, I do too. The Ravens look really good. I want to get into the comments here. I mean, Jessica says Lamar's definitely worth the money that they paid him. Absolutely he is, and then some.
You know what? Can I chime in, Chad? I just want to build off what Jessica said in the comments. He technically, on a percentage scale, Lamar Jackson has performed up to his contract more so overall than Deshaun Watson has. Baltimore's getting their money's worth out of their quarterback.
Yes, absolutely. That's how you sign. That's how you make a good signing, right? That's good financial work. And listen, Hoodie Jello, I'm excited that Holtman won a game too. It's exciting. It really is. You think what you think about Ohio State basketball, but let's you brought up the Eagles. Let's talk about the Eagles. They beat the Dolphins 31-17 over the weekend. Let's just I don't know. I thought listen, one thing I want to get to real quick. I thought the Eagles finally showed some toughness in this game. I don't know if you watched this one. The third quarter, at one point the Eagles were up like 17-3, right? Hurts throws a pick six. They end up tying the game, whatever, 17-17. What do the Eagles do? They go right back down the field. 75 yards in 8 plays. Hurts goes 5 of 6 for 72 yards on the drive, or yards, whatever. It's fine too. Change the unit of measure in football now. They go yards. Anyway, throws a touchdown to AJ Brown to go ahead 24-17. They obviously never looked back, and they won. They didn't look back, and they won. Words are hard today for me, by the way, guys. It's the sunglasses, I think. I don't know where the camera is. But yeah, they showed some toughness. Nick, did you watch this game at all?
I watched part of it. I know there was a baseball game on that night as well that I was watching. But yeah. Also, I want to say, great uniform matchup. Arguably the most aesthetically pleasing, like the Kelly Green Eagles jerseys and those Dolphins jerseys. It went so well together. So it was really
they do match. I thought the green was a little too bright for me.
I like those Eagles uniforms. It was a great uniform matchup. But I think this game, the Eagles did look really good. This is, in my opinion, maybe the most impressive they've looked all season because they bounced back from some adversity. Jalen Hurts was efficient. AJ Brown has been amazing. He's got 5 straight games now with 125-plus receiving yards. So I think the Eagles, this might be able to help them get back on track after losing to the Jets last week. And I think the Dolphins, they're good, but I think anytime they play a good team like this, they're going to get exposed because their O-line is bad. It's really bad. They have so many weapons on offense, the fastest offense in the NFL, all that. But if you don't have an O-line that can block and hold up, it doesn't matter, especially when you face a front like the Eagles. We saw that against Buffalo, too. They got killed by Buffalo, 48-20. So that's now both times that they've played a really good team, they've gotten exposed. So I think the Dolphins aren't quite there yet as contenders in the AFC.
Can I say one thing about the Eagles?
Sure.
I'm going to compare it to the 49ers. Fred Warner has finally beaten the tush push. He jumped over the line. I think when those two will eventually meet, the 49ers and the Eagles, Fred Warner will stop the tush push.
Rest in peace, tush push.
They do face him later this season. So
yeah,
we'll find out.
They'll stop that. Finally.
Jackson, you have any thoughts on the tush push or Eagles and Philly here?
Yeah, I wanted to double down on what Nick said, in particular about Miami being exposed when they play good teams. I happen to notice Miami has a record of 8-25. Well, that's the record when you add up all their opponents. They had a pretty much easy schedule, per se, according to the records. I don't think Miami's as good. And the other thing to keep in mind is there's still a lot of weeks left. There's a lot of games left. I'm not sold on Tua being here in a month. There's still a lot that can happen. I'm not 100% sold on him yet. Philadelphia, they did lose to the Jets, but they look good. It got physical. It was a close game. But I do think Philadelphia is beginning to separate themselves just somewhat from the 49ers and the Cowboys. And they're all kind of like, it's like this. Nobody is a definitive clear-cut top because Jalen Hurts this year isn't the Jalen Hurts of last year. But I feel like that defense, the one thing they got going is that defensive line. Yeah. And people are talking about it. Jalen Carter's on it. I think it's going to be a problem for the remainder of the season. I think Philadelphia is going to get better as the season goes on.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will tell you about the Eagles real quick. And by the way, I want to just listen to if you're watching or if you hear about this, Jason Voorhees just said he didn't know if you were going to be here in a month. Just be careful. Okay. I don't know what that means. Just don't go to something, okay?
I mean,
Yeah, please don't go to summer camp. Okay, just don't go in the water. Do not go out in the canoe.
Okay.
One thing about Philly, I did want to say, AJ Brown in less than a year and a half, AJ Brown already has 8 games with at least 125 yards in an Eagles uniform. I mean, he's already tied for 5th most in franchise history. And yeah, I noticed. I'm going to get in the comments here too. Andrew 7, the max dad counter is still at 0, and we're 20 minutes in here. So I don't know. Wow. We're a little rough right here.
I want to mention though, that, like you said about AJ Brown, so they just got Kevin Byard as well from the Titans, and now that's twice now in the past 2 years. They've just stolen a player away from the Tennessee Titans, an all-pro caliber player. What stranglehold does Howie Roseman have on the GM of the Tennessee Titans?
Eagles South now. I don't know.
I guess so, because the Titans are just handing them all pros.
Man,
Howie can't keep getting away with this. I'm sorry.
It's nice to have a minor league organization right there in the same league you can just borrow from, right? It's kind of nice. I want to talk about the Browns real quick because speaking of not knowing who people are and wearing costumes and things like that. First of all, we're going to talk about Myles Garrett, who loves Halloween. That's cool. But the Browns, man, just when you think like they're like a defensive juggernaut, they come out and they give up 456 yards to possibly Duke. I don't know who that was on the field on Sunday. And their backup quarterback, right? Like what? Like at least they did show some heart and resolve in this game. But wow, I mean, they outlasted the Colts basically because Myles Garrett is on the roster, right?
Yeah, if Myles Garrett isn't in that game, then the Browns lose. I mean, he had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a blocked field goal. So, I mean, he was just, as the spooky season is arising, very scary.
The NFL Twitter page changed their header to Myles Garrett Defensive Player of the Year ? I mean, that one game and what he's done all year could like push him, like keep him in the running for it, because every year he's not in it and no one knows why, and he's one of the best all-around defensive players in the NFL every single season.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the Browns defense, what encouraged me most, though, about the Browns defense this game is the turnovers. So the Browns defense has been amazing all season, but they haven't been getting a lot of turnovers. This game, they gave up a lot of yards, but they got those turnovers, and those turnovers is what ended up winning them this game. The 2 forced fumbles from Myles Garrett, the interception from Denzel Ward. So if the Browns defense gets these turnovers, they should be able to win games pretty easily because they've been already winning games without getting any turnovers. So I'm not that worried, though, about giving up that many yards this game. I think they were due for a down game. They can't give up 100 yards every single game or 200 yards every single game. Yeah. So, and Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Colts, he's an amazing play caller. He was dialing up some really good runs that just seemed like there was space everywhere. Every time they ran the ball, it was just space all the time. So I give a lot of credit to Shane Steichen of the Colts. He was the Eagles play caller last year. We saw how good he was there. So, if the Browns defense gets this many turnovers, they should not be losing games.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the issue. Nobody's mentioned it yet. I'm going to be devil's advocate. We're talking about a Browns win. When it came out, there were 2 incorrect calls that created that win, that helped them with the win. Now, 2 things. One, I'm not against that. The Browns have lost so many games because of bad calls. They've been on the other side of that coin. So it all balances itself out. I'm okay with that. The thing I'm not okay with is, had those incorrect calls been correct, we'd be having a different conversation today. The clock would have been ran out and we'd be wondering what the hell happened. Oh, here's what happened. The Browns defense is they're giving up 456 yards. The quarterback play is suspect. You can say it's Deshaun Watson, but heck, if Deshaun Watson hadn't got hurt, that game was looking like you were headed to the L anyway. Yeah, so definitely. It's very weird to talk about a Browns W when in the real world, us football-knowing adults, we know they didn't win. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. This one feels weird. It fits the vibe of the show. It feels weird.
For me, this is definitely like the least satisfied I've been after a Browns win this season. But at the end of the day, they're 4-2. They've only been 4-2 3 times since coming back since 1999. I'm going to enjoy it.
Can I ask you something?
The thing is, though,
they're 4-2, but is this the same type of 4-2 that Baker Mayfield said felt like 0-6?
I don't think it feels like
remember that 4-2?
No. It
I
does
mean,
not feel like
it honestly feels
0-6.
like they should be 2-4 because their defense has saved them in the last 2 games.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, they're 4-2, and they're in position. They're right now. They hold a playoff spot in the AFC. But is this style of winning sustainable? No, it's not. It's not
Hanging by a
sustainable.
thread.
I mean, we've had the worst quarterback play in the league the past couple of weeks, and somehow we've been able to pull these games out. That's why I think the Cleveland Browns need to go trade for a veteran QB that can steady the pace and not turn the ball over and hit the easy throws. And you know who that guy is? Jacoby Brissett. If the Browns have Jacoby Brissett on this team, they would have won the last 2 weeks easily. No questions asked. And if he's the QB for the rest of the season, I would say this team could win 11 or 12 games.
I'll say one thing too. So after the illegal contact call that was called, that was what, first and goal?
Mhm.
Or that was it was still first down. We get the illegal contact, or it was illegal contact, we move it up. And then there's the pass interference call. We got a first and goal after the illegal contact, and then we get the pass interference call. If that wasn't called, it was second down.
With 33 seconds left.
Exactly. That's plenty of time to move the ball, set it up, spike it, and then run a play.
Yeah.
But you didn't have, because you didn't have any timeouts.
Yeah.
And
I don't know why we wasted that timeout so early.
yeah.
I mean, realistically, that's probably time for 2 plays, really. 33 seconds is plenty of time to run 2 plays as long as it's a short little, something manageable where everybody can stay in the area.
The 4-2 that the Browns are, the good news is the rest of the league or the rest of the AFC, other than Kansas City, is suspect enough. Their 4-2 just might hold up through January.
I mean, right now there's the 6th seed in the playoffs, and they're facing the Ravens right now if the playoffs started today.
And that's a division game they can win because, I mean, we've seen it in the MLB playoffs. Teams facing other teams in their division, and they come out on top, even though they're not the higher seed.
Winning a road playoff game if Watson again, this all comes back to Watson's health. If he's not healthy right now, then I would just put him if he's not getting any better, I'd throw him on IR and let him rest for at least 4 weeks, in my opinion. And that's why I would go out and make a move for a veteran QB because you're not going to win any meaningful games in the playoffs with PJ Walker. You're not going to win any meaningful games in the playoffs with an injured Deshaun Watson. So if they really are serious about making a deep run, which they should be because this defense is capable of that, they have to do something at the quarterback position. It's that simple, in my opinion.
You know what's going to happen. You're going to see DTR again.
They're not winning anything with rookie 5th-round pick either. They have to get a veteran who won't turn the ball over if they're serious about making a run this year. They have to.
I'll just say it. It seems like the Browns don't want to admit it, but Deshaun Watson's contract was a mistake, and you're never going to see the Deshaun Watson from 2020 again.
I never understood why they made that signing anyways, because I'm not a Browns fan. But
I'm just saying, 2020 Deshaun Watson. 2020 Deshaun Watson's never going to happen again.
It's coming back to bite them. It's coming back to haunt them right now. Okay, we've heard that it's micro tears in his shoulder, and he can't drive the ball down the field. And we saw that on the one play that he was intercepted. He threw that. He had plenty of time to get that ball to the receiver, but he threw it short and it was intercepted.
Well, the problem is when they negotiate the contract, they say things like, we're going to give you $230 million guaranteed. What we want you to do, though, is this. What they need to say is, if you do this, I'll give you $230 million. That's how the conversation should go.
The reason he got $230 million guaranteed is because there was a bidding war for his services to whichever team paid him the most would get him in trade. That's all. That's pretty simple. It was a completely different situation than any other free agent signing, any other QB extension. That's why he got all that money, was because he was available for trade, and the highest bidder would get his services.
Especially with his history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, listen, we ended up with him, and I'm back for the moment, so I do want to take them. I want to take the moment to move on. We got to get out of the NFL stuff for a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't know why. I think Jack Tunney's trying to shut the Macho Man down over here, but listen, Jack Tunney can't shut me down. Where's Mean Gene Oakland? I need Mean Gene Oakland out here. I need an interview. I want to move on to college football because listen, man, the Buckeyes, right? What did you want, man? You wanted to see them defensively dominate a legitimate team that has a pulse, that's been scoring points. Penn State hadn't played anyone or whatever, but man, the Buckeyes got a great defensive effort, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the silver bullet shine, man. That was great.
They have one of the best defenses in college football. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch it because I was in a car and I was watching it on ESPN Gamecast.
Hey, can I ask you? I just want to. Who were you in the car with? Did I put you in a box?
Somebody.
No, Max brings up a good point. Defensively, Ohio State played fantastically. But let's talk about the offense. Marvin Harrison, 11 receptions for 162 yards and a touchdown. He was basically our whole offense. I mean, we had Stover at times too, but this is now Marvin Harrison Jr.'s 12th game with Ohio State with over 100 receiving yards. He's just 2 behind David Boston. And with the season that Ohio State has left, he could tie him or even pass him. Yeah. So I mean, Harrison was just open for days. He had space to run, and it was just a great offensive effort by Ohio State. And even their defense as well, as Max said. Third down defense for Ohio State. Penn State converted 1 out of 16 times on third down, which is it's unfathomable for a stat because Penn State could not convert on third down to save their lives. And Drew Aller could not get the ball to his receivers. The man from Medina, Ohio, just down the street from us, the sophomore, 18 for 42 with a passer rating of 88.9.
I'll say one thing. In this preview, I've told you guys all along that when this game happens, Drew Aller is going to be frantic. He's going to be throwing the ball around the field, and he's going to be yelling at his receivers. All of that happened this weekend.
Max, you did say that. And Ben, who used to be on the show, said that he was texting me. He said, Drew Aller is going to get rattled on the road. He doesn't play well on the road. I said, well, that's high school, man. And he came out. I mean, listen, he looked very rattled. It was awful.
Homecoming was not great.
And plus, even though it's a big team like Ohio State, if he's going to compete at this level, he's got to be calm. He's got to know, his receiver makes a mistake. Just tell him, there was communication. There was probably communication errors all day because that stadium was so loud. He was like Derek Carr yelling at Chris Olave for not going to a ball that was 10 feet out of bounds. Yeah. It's like I've told you, he's not going to be good in the big games, and it's going to happen again against Michigan.
Listen, it's a learning experience. I mean, he's going to be in some of the biggest classrooms in college, right? You're playing in Happy Valley. It's a home game, obviously, but you're playing in Columbus. You're playing in Michigan. I mean, he's going to have. I don't know. He'll be tested, I guess, on the road. If he gets better, we'll see, right? I don't know.
And it was great to see Kyle McCord air it out a bit because Ohio State's running game really wasn't that great. Henderson didn't really play that much, and Williams did enough to move the chains. I don't think he was fantastic, but he did enough for us to win the game. Yeah. So it was really nice to see McCord shine out when our run game was not there for us.
Yeah, I thought McCord looked okay. He did miss some passes. He looked like he was a little tight as well. Some of his passes were kind of, if you notice, they were up and behind receivers, which sometimes I think indicates a little bit of tightness. You're not, you're just not quite throwing all the way through the ball. I think, listen, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that limits Ryan Day's play calling a little bit. I know we get on Ryan Day for, let's open up the playbook, but I mean, if you're not 100% sure that you've got a quarterback that can make those throws on any given play, you're not going to call, a wide open playbook. I mean, you're going to keep it, closer to the vest. No intended, but
the thing in the matter is the Buckeyes at this point, I think after this meeting, we've accepted the fact not to get the 50-point, 60 points on teams anymore. I think we should learn to appreciate this version of them, the lower scoring, grinding games out, getting the W that way. Mm-hmm. And lastly, the only thing I didn't like about that game, the last series, if you're in a defensive, if you're playing that stellar of defense, it looks so lazy and so just losing focus and lack of competency. It just looks like a lot of things, like you don't care. When you let a team drive 74 yards and get a touchdown.
They really didn't. I mean, they already won the game. If they want to give up a touchdown, go for it. I mean, at the end of the day, they still want to get the top 10.
But the question created is, why give the committee any reason? You're already Ohio State. Why give the committee any reasons?
I don't think it's a reason for the committee. I mean, you're ranked number 3 in the nation, and you beat a team who's ranked number 7 in the nation just because you give up a touchdown towards the end of the game. That's not. I don't think that's really going to change your ranking.
At least they still covered the spread.
It doesn't change your ranking, but it looks bad. It looks bad, man. It's like if you're the coach, you should be. Who cares if you won? You should be super pissed about the last 50-some seconds because that's what made you guys defensively look. Yeah,
maybe the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, but I guarantee you, I'm sure a lot of Ohio State players don't really care that much. They're just happy they won the big game. And
and listen to Jackson's point. I want to say this really quickly too. I mean that score. Oh, I'm sorry, Jackson. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it's called showmanship.
Yeah.
Showmanship matters. They always feel like Ohio State's soft. Ohio State can't do this. They don't do this. We don't give the committee reasons like letting a team that you've been blasting head on for 58 minutes. Now all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. That's all.
Well, and to your point, I will say this. I mean, that touchdown did bring it to a one-score game. Obviously, you've got to get the onside kick. There wasn't a whole lot of time left, but I mean, crazier things have happened. College football is wild sometimes, man.
Like J-Lo said, do the opposite. If you want to be like that at the end of the game, run the score up.
Yeah.
Run the score up. Make that statement.
You're right, Jackson. They should have, because I definitely think, not even in the fourth quarter, but earlier times in the game, they should have scored and they didn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely think they should have won by more, but was it because of that late touchdown at the end of the game? No, I think they should have scored a lot earlier in the game than that, more than they did score.
I just didn't like the feeling it left me with. I wanted to be able to talk consistent 60-minute S. I ended up only being allowed to talk 58-minute S because there was 2 minutes of BS.
That's fair, and you look what a small lapse did against Georgia. I mean, they had that little 6 or 8 minute football lapse against Georgia, and Georgia scored what, like, I don't know, it felt like 100 points in that little time frame. I mean, to come back. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying.
I'm just hoping down the line. I mean, it is kind of a concern, Jackson, and I'm hoping down the line once they get into these bigger games that they do play a full 60 minutes because until that time is up, until that whistle blows, you got to be focused, like you said.
I agree with you, Jared, but the last time we talked about it last week, we all agreed Penn State was a big game.
Yeah. Well, they won. I think we can agree that they won, and that's fine. I mean, second big test of the year, second close game, second grinded out type of game, and they came out on top again. Those things only help. We talked about, I don't know, what did we say? Penn State was the midterm. They passed. Maybe they didn't get an A+, but I give them a B+, A- when you guys. I mean, I thought the defensive effort was great. Like you said, okay, maybe the last couple questions mailed it in, just filled in a few circles down, whatever. That's fine. But 20-12, I'll take it. They're undefeated.
Not to cut you off, I wouldn't feel this way if there wasn't that committee thing involved. If it was just straight up football, just straight up numbers and X's and O's, Jared, I would agree with you 1,000%. But because there's these group of guys that like to hate on Ohio State, I feel like you can't give them any room to maneuver.
Fair. Jessica gives him a B. Listen, I think that's fair. A B is fine. I mean, let's move on though. What would you give USC in their last 3 efforts against Utah, guys? Would you
big fat F?
Yeah, I mean, at least a D-, right?
I agree with Jared on that.
Yeah, USC had all this hype going into the college football season, ranked in the top 10, and then you lose back-to-back games. Caleb Williams literally is carrying them on his back right now because he's all that USC got because their defense is atrocious. They give up just 30-plus point games week in and week out. And at the end of the day, USC's playoffs
are done.
Yeah, their hopes and dreams are gone.
People are saying that Caleb Williams can just sit out the rest of the year. He's not
He really can. He really can. Because, yeah, he is out of the Heisman contention. And even if USC wins the Big 12 and plays a highly anticipated bowl game, will Caleb Williams even play? I guess. But it's not going to mean that much to him.
It's like against the past times they've played Utah, they've gotten good leads. Yeah, they've given up points, but they've never been able to finish the game. This weekend, they couldn't finish it because they scored. Caleb Williams ran it in for a touchdown. Like a minute 20 left. And then Utah marched all the way down. They kicked the game-winning field goal. In the big Pac-12 championship last year, they had like a 28 to something lead, and then they blew it in the one half.
Yeah.
It's
Listen,
crazy.
Lincoln Riley has all kinds of defensive and time management problems. Great offenses. Okay. Great offense. He's a great offensive mind. He really has to learn to default to someone who knows defense, to get them on the staff and just turn it over 100%, let them run the defense and get somebody in there that can do it. And listen, Hoodie Jello, defense will forever win championships, he said. And yeah, by the way, Utah does. I think they have a pig farmer now at quarterback, don't they? Didn't they say that? I think their own coach even said that we have a pig farmer. We're pretty proud of that guy too. But yeah, I just think Lincoln Riley's got to learn to default to someone who knows defense and just let him take it over and don't even go in the room. Just let him handle it, right?
He brought the same defensive coordinator over from Oklahoma, Alex Grinch, who used to be with Ohio State.
Yeah.
And guess what? The Ohio State defense was bad when he was there too. So everywhere that guy goes, the defense is bad. So I think he needs a new defensive coordinator.
And it's the same problems. It's tackling in space. It's getting out of position. It's over pursuit. It's the same problems.
It's turnovers.
Yeah, last 2 games, Caleb Williams has turned over the ball way too much.
Yeah.
This
Agreed.
definitely should lower his draft stock. This definitely should change everything. I even picked USC to be like a playoff team or right outside. I take all that.
No matter how USC's season ends, like say they win the Pac-12 and they play some pointless bowl game, I still think Caleb Williams is a top 10 draft pick in the NFL. Whether he 1 or 10 remains to be seen, but do I think it's going to matter for Caleb Williams? No, because there are a lot of teams in the NFL that are having quarterback problems right now.
I know maturity was the issue for him. He honestly seems a little more mature to me this year. He seems like he's kind of taking his lumps a little better this year than last year. He checked out at the end of the year, I feel.
This year they look like a next year 6-6 Big Ten.
Yeah. Listen, we jumped on Max for saying they were going to be Rutgers when they came over to the Big Ten, but now I don't know. Maybe he's right.
Rutgers, but they're definitely not going to be who we were wanting them to be 5 weeks ago, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago.
No, with that defense in the Big Ten, they're going to lose games. I mean,
I thought USC was going to help us out. Now I have second thoughts.
Yeah. Let's move on to a different kind of college football story. Let's go off the field. Well, around the field anyway. Man, what's going on with Michigan right now? So the NCAA, they're investigating Michigan in a sign stealing scheme, right? Does anybody want to take the lead on this? Who knows a lot about this? Max, you want to take this? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, and by the way, don't mind me. I have tickets. I'm not recording your side. I'm just go ahead. Go ahead, Max.
Okay. So a couple days ago, Michigan was starting to be investigated by the NCAA for sign stealing, and on Monday, he's actually still okay. On Sunday or Monday, a scout for Michigan Connor Stallions was put on administrative leave by the University of Michigan, and Jim Harbaugh threw him under the bus because apparently Jim Harbaugh knows nothing about this. He has no reason why he doesn't know why his team is so good. But there was a picture released a couple days ago saying that Connor Stallions Venmo'd a recruiting intern, Chase Evans, money to go to the college football playoff game between the University of Georgia and the Ohio State game that ended in a 42-41 loss for Ohio State. But did it really matter for them last year? No, because they got beat by TCU pretty badly. There was also a video yesterday of the Ohio State game from last season where it was like the first play of the game, correct? Right?
First drive.
The Ohio State, if they want to change the play, they'll do a fake clap, and then all of them will look over to the sideline to get a new play call. Mm-hmm. There was a video of Connor Stallions looking at the play callers on the Ohio State sideline with the defensive coordinator right next to him with a sheet of opposing teams' signals. And as soon as he got the signal, he told the defensive coordinator and all the Michigan players that were near him and on the field or on the bench, they started pointing upward. And the play that happened resulted in an incompletion or it was stopped. So
I saw that.
Yeah, Max, I thought it was really suspicious that not only Stallions and not only the defensive coordinator, but also the 6 or 7 players in that area all looked over to the OSU sideline. And before Stroud even came back and said a word, everybody said,
Yeah,
I
it's
thought that was weird.
right now. It's against him, and I think that video is really gonna incriminate them. And
Yeah.
I'll say
And to be clear, listen, I want to go into the comments. To be clear, the boys, it says if you don't think that everyone else is doing something, isn't doing something like this, then you're mistaken. I would not doubt it. And listen, that's why I'm not jumping on. I'm not trying to condemn Michigan for this. I mean, it looks bad. It looks bad, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to find out that 55 other schools are doing this.
There was seats for the Ohio State-Penn State game reserved for somebody. And Connor Stallions and
Connor Stallions, yeah.
Right behind the Penn State bench.
Right behind the Penn State bench.
Right behind it.
And that's the thing too. Like, if you're a Michigan football player, this is not the distraction you need right now during the season. You're ranked number 2 in the country. This is not the distraction you need right now. And Michigan still hasn't faced anyone really tough on their schedule. So we don't even know how good they are. We don't even know if they hold up to their number 2 rank. So those are just double whammies for them that they're facing right now, and it's not a good mix, and they're in trouble.
Jared, it's funny you said that. I was sitting here listening to you guys, and I was thinking that. I was thinking Michigan's schedule hasn't even been tough enough for them to even need to consider creating some type of edge. If they just line up against their schedule, head up, X's and O's, they should have no problem. I don't understand why they were approaching things like, oh, God, we better learn these signals or else. And, everybody's doing something. I'll say that much.
There was also a video of Aiden Hutchinson, the first year Michigan won, running over, was it Orlando Brown? For whoever the left tackle was for Ohio State. He literally just ran him over. And there was a thing where he looked over to the bench before he lined up, and they pretty much said, you can run this guy over, and the play was disrupted. So I think that there's going to be some sort of penalty, maybe a bowl game ban or something big.
Maybe, but listen, I don't think there's any doubting that Michigan has physically just been better than Ohio State the last couple of years. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say this, and I agree with this. Even if you know what's coming, you still have to stop it. I mean, right? Like a well-executed play. Look at the teams that run like the wing T or the triple option. There's no variation. You know exactly what's coming. You know which one of the 2 or 3 guys is going to get the ball, and you still can't stop it if it's run well, right?
Exactly. It's about execution.
I mean, we said the same thing though about the Astros. Like, people didn't give the Astros that benefit of doubt. Oh, they know what pitch is coming. They still have to hit it. They still have to hit it over the fence. So
they still have to execute
knowing
the play.
what play is coming is a huge advantage. That's
It helps, but it's not the end all be all.
No, it's not the end all. No.
But it could help also.
If I'm the pitcher and Nick is at the plate and he's telling me he still has to hit it, well, let's say there's an 84 mile per hour changeup in my arsenal, but then I got like 102 mile per hour fastball. If you know what I'm about to give you, you're right there with me. But if you don't know, I got the advantage. As a matter of fact, I got 18 miles per hour.
But you do have the advantage of being able to go well within the strike zone anywhere, right? Like, you don't. Sometimes I don't think knowing the speed helps. I'm not going to lie. I hated that the Astros did this, and I wish they would have admitted it. At the time, and I hope that Michigan, if they get caught, I hope that they'll say something, because listen, there's a lot of pressure to win, right? In major leagues, you've got pressure from everybody. In college football, you've got pressure from the boosters, from the entire university, from all the alumni. Everybody is putting pressure on you to win, and it really does become win at any cost. And you start to toe the line, and I think it's really easy to accidentally cross that line. And then when you cross it, there's no going back, right? Like, now it's worked. But I wish these organizations, these franchises, these teams, whatever, I wish they would just say that. Hey, look, there was an immense amount of pressure on us to win a football game, to win a baseball game, to win a World Series, whatever. We did this. We started trying to find ways around things, and we went in too deep. We're sorry. We apologize. It won't happen again. We're going to get it cleaned up. And I don't think anybody would really hold that against anybody, but it's like the constant denial. Well, no, we never did anything. We never did anything. If we did anything, it's this, blah, blah, blah. I think that's why people get irritated with the Astros.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely correct, Chad. That is it.
It's the
attitude. It's the attitude of acting like you didn't do something. When obviously everyone even Max told us about the video. Chad, I tagged you in that video. I know what video he's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, just admit it. Just be like, look, part of my job description is look for an edge constantly. Constantly be searching for an edge. That's part of his job description.
Sometimes the edge gets a little too sharp and you take it too far and you cut too deep. And you can come back from that. You just have to fix it.
I'd rather you be going too far than losing games and you're not trying enough.
That's fair. That's fair. And when we and clean it up. I mean, I hate that it happened, but I understand it. I mean, from a human standpoint, I get it, right? Like, I understand, man. There's a ton of pressure on these guys. Just everybody, I guarantee you in Major League Baseball, especially, right? When you're going through arbitration meetings, I guarantee you these franchises are talking to these players about accountability. Where was the accountability from the Astros? Come on.
Right. Yeah, every athlete, I mean,
they fired their manager and GM.
They even let them keep their championship, and they don't even get an asterisk next to it.
Yeah, that's not enough. I agree. They cleaned some house. That's fine. And they brought the right guy in to steer the ship afterwards. They couldn't have brought a better guy in. Dusty Baker's amazing.
It needs an asterisk.
It wasn't enough. All those guys should have been punished.
Right. But 50 years from now, 50 to 70 years from now, people won't know what happened. That's why they need asterisks next to their name.
And Max, to your point, if they would have admitted it and then they fired the GM and the manager, that would have been fine. That would have been fine because everybody knows at the end of the day, you don't really release players when there's a problem. You let coaches go, right? You let managers go.
And then they fired the people.
Yeah.
It's like, as you said, if you fire them amid the allegations and then they find out it's true, okay, then it's not as heavy.
Yeah.
But like getting caught and then firing them and then the MLB suspending AJ Hinch for a season because of his thing.
Yeah.
That's not like, you don't want to get caught and then get fired. You want to get fired and then get caught. So
I'm not sure I want either of those things, but I see your point.
Well, I didn't want to get fired or caught. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I'm just bitter still. The Yankees was a team that got knocked that year, and I couldn't understand how during the season we did well. Games 1 and 2, we could get we were doing well. We go to Houston, and all of a sudden we can't get anybody out. Yeah. I never said I think Houston's cheating. That never crossed my mind. I blamed my team.
I said to my wife, Cleveland was playing I'm sorry. Go ahead. Cleveland was playing a playoff game in Houston, and I said to my wife, I said, it looks like they know what's coming. And this was like, I can't. This was 2016, 2017. I can't remember the year. 2017.
Got swept in the ALDS.
And I was like, it looks like they know what's coming. Like, it looks like they know, and they did.
And they did. But that's the thing. I never accused Houston. I was blaming my team for not doing well. I never said, "Oh, Houston's cheating," but I didn't understand how come we couldn't get anybody out in Houston, but in New York we were doing well. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But then you find out they cheat, man. Of course, I want Houston to not have that title. They don't deserve it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
And if you're going to keep it, you need the asterisk. So 100 years from now, we remember. We know.
Yeah. Listen, while we're talking about the Astros, let's get to the World Series. It's the matchup that everyone expected back in April. The Diamondbacks and the Rangers. What? Okay, that's fine. All right. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm going to go around the horn. We've got a little bit of time. We've got a few minutes here. We have been very efficient today. I'm proud of all of us. Even though Jack Tunney did try to shut me down a couple times, I found my way back in. Can't shut me down, Tunney. You guys even old enough to remember that? Yes, Max. Do you have a question? Use the bathroom?
I want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
This goes back to last week.
Oh, okay.
You asked me, Chad, do the Arizona Diamondbacks have a chance? And they were down 2-0 going back to Arizona.
Yeah.
And what happened?
You're still not right. They still haven't won anything, so hold your horses.
Well, you guys said they were dead in their tracks. You guys said it's over. And even Nick yesterday said, yeah, Philly's going to win tonight. No.
Either way, both championship series were great. Starting with the AL, Adolis Garcia, man, is just a monster. I mean, Game 7, he was 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. And as the announcer said, he owns Houston. Oh, he just loves playing against Houston.
It says so on Wikipedia.
Yeah, he ALCS MVP. had a 357 batting average in that series, and he was fantastic. He really was fantastic. I loved watching him play. Great to see Montgomery come back in and pitch off of 3 days rest as well, and everyone was contributing. It was great to see Corey Seager was starting to heat up a little bit at the end of that series as well. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, they just played beautifully, and everyone is happy that the Astros are not in the World Series.
First time in 5 years, Dodgers and Astros are not in it.
It was so now. I want to talk about the Phillies. Like that's a monumental choke. That is a monumental choke. Their stars started off this postseason so hot, and everyone's like, "How is anyone going to beat this team? How is anyone going to get these guys out?" Trey Turner and Castellanos didn't get a hit for the last 4 games of the series.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper did not show up in Game 7. Their stars did not show up when it mattered most. And because of that, they're going home early this year. And I think this year was their best chance to really win win a championship. It was wide open for them this year. They beat the Braves. They had an 84-win Diamondbacks team in the NLCS. You go up 2-0, and you just forget how to hit the last couple.
Yeah,
games. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The Diamondbacks coach pulled his starting pitchers when they didn't need to be pulled. He pulled the pitcher in game 6 after 5 innings of shutout baseball.
Yeah, I really think the Phillies, as Nick said, really just shut down offensively. The D-backs bullpen was outstanding. They did a great job of bringing their setup man and the closer in. And at the end of the day, the Phillies, they just, as soon as they came home from Arizona, they had all the momentum on their side. They didn't lose at home. They had not only the fans in Philadelphia, but the whole MLB rooting from them, because you got people like Harper and Schwarber hitting bombs. And, they all just went flat. They couldn't score with runners in scoring position to save their lives. And on the other side, for pitching, the only thing that really bothered me about the Phillies pitching, I thought it was good enough to win, but they gave up so many stolen bases. They did it against the Braves in the NLDS, and they did it last night against the Diamondbacks. It only took the Diamondbacks 6 games to figure it out, but they cannot hold runners to save their lives. And they just can't.
Sorry.
Every other time.
The Cancun World Series.
Hey,
So now-
that's all right. That's all right. A lot of teams are competing. Hey, we got a couple minutes left. I just want to say, Hoodie Jello said I can pop the champagne because the Braves are still the most recent NL East team to win it all. I'll take it. It's whatever. I'll take it. Small wins. So I want to start with Jason Voorhees because I'm terrified of him. World Series, who you got? How many games? Who wins it?
You know what? I'm gonna go with my gut and say Yankees in 6. But to stay along the storyline with our show and the scripting of it all, you know what? I love that underdoggy feel with the Diamondbacks. But the last time they made the World Series, they beat my Yankees in 01. So I'm going with Texas. I'm an American League guy anyway.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Texas. I think Texas's road to the World Series was just as interesting as Arizona's. The only difference is Texas is more deserving, and Arizona's like happy to be here. I know I said this 2 times now, but I think third's a charm. I think happy to be here will come out in the World Series.
Fair enough. Jared, who you got?
Yeah, the comment there from the boys, I do agree with them. Rangers in 6.
Mhm.
I really think it's going to be a battle of pitching. I really think this is going to be a low-scoring series, and I really think at the end of the day, the Rangers starters are going to have to outperform the D-back starters because, I mean, we clearly saw it last night and a few last games in the NLCS. The D-backs bullpen is locked in right now and certainly better than the Rangers bullpen. So I think it's all going to come down to starting pitching, but I do think the Rangers win this in 6.
Fair enough. Max, what do you think, buddy?
We already know who you're.
You got it. I know who you're going to say.
I'm going against the grain here.
I just want to know if he's going to say like 8 or 9 games or something. I just want to hear that.
All right. Wow. Diamondbacks in 6. I say they go down, they go up. Leaving Texas, it'll be 1-1. Texas will take 1. in Arizona, and then the Diamondbacks will finish them off.
Okay.
They're
That's
gonna
a lot. You're asking a lot of those guys.
We'll see.
You
We'll see.
But
Nick, what do you think, man?
I've fallen in love with watching the Rangers this postseason. They're so fun to watch. 1 through 9 in their lineup. They're all great hitters. They're all tough at bats. And they have bulldog playoff starting pitchers like Nate Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery at the top of their rotation.
Yes.
And also, I'd love shout out Creed, their theme song. I love it. It's amazing. So I've been riding with the Rangers all postseason. I'm gonna go with them. I think it goes 7 though, because I'm not counting out the Arizona Diamondbacks. I didn't think they would beat the Dodgers. I didn't think they would beat the Phillies. Guess what? They beat them both. So I'd be foolish to count out the Diamondbacks and not give them a shot because they've proven it. So I'm gonna go with the Rangers in 7. And I also just want to mention that this World Series I think is a lot of people like, oh, it's bad for baseball that it's like 2 small market teams. I mean, Rangers aren't small market, but 2 lesser known teams. I think it's great for baseball. I love the parity. I love seeing new, fresh teams in the World Series. This is going to be a fun series, a really fun series.
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air.
It really is because we've seen the Dodgers or Astros in the World Series or like the Braves every year for the past like 5 years. So I think it's going to be a really fun World Series to watch, and I think the Rangers win in 7 games. They're going to go higher than Creed.
That's what I was picking.
And here's a fact. When the Rangers brought in Creed for the ALCS, they went 0-3 at home.
I don't care. Creed's still
But
good.
they're undefeated on the road. So
Fair enough. Hey, Hoodie Jello's got the Cleveland Spiders in 4. I can't disagree with that, but I will. Like Nick said, listen, it would be foolish to count the Diamondbacks, right? Jessica says if the Diamondbacks win this, be prepared for a movie on them. Seriously, it'll be a Disney movie. It would be foolish to count out the Diamondbacks, right? You saw the effort. I mean, Corbin Carroll, the pitching staff, the bullpen's good. That being said, I'm going to count out the Diamondbacks. I got the Rangers in 5 because you said it, man. The pitching, I mean, Eovaldi and Montgomery, I think they're going to put them up 2-0. Listen, here's the thing. I think we might see a little bit of Scherzer magic in this World Series, right?
I mean, he hasn't done much so far this postseason, but it would be nice to see him get back to his proper form.
His last start was better. He was definitely better in Game 7 than he was in Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to kind of round back into form, and Scherzer's a gamer. I mean, I don't count those guys out, man. He showed it countless times. I mean, he shows up, right? I mean, when you need someone to show up, Max Scherzer does show up, and I think Scherzer shows up. I think the Rangers win this thing in 5.
Yeah, except for the Mets, but he has that veteran experience, so he can lead the young guys in an atmosphere like the World Series because he's been there before. He's won one with the Nationals in 19. So he definitely has some experience to help out these young guys get ready for the biggest series of their lives.
I changed my mind. I want the Diamondbacks to win because I want this movie to be narrated by Max. Thanks, Aiden. I needed that, man.
No.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to get out of here today, I think, guys. Listen, man, for Jason Voorhees, for Spider-Man, for Rory McIlroy, for bare knuckle fighter Jose Ramirez, and for me, Macho Man Randy Savage. Jack Tunney, you tried to shut me down on the live stream, but you couldn't do it because I'm the cream of the crop, and the cream of the crop always rises to the top. Oh, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you guys.